All righty. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. We are live here tonight with Mr. Curtis Husting of Team Associated and Michael Wortell. Ooh, I did it right, Michael.
You got it right this time. I feel like we could sign off and just call it a success right now.
We could be done right now. So, if y'all want to, I'm Dirk Anderson of Old School RC, and, great relationship with Team Associated for many, many years. And we got our buddy Curtis. If you want to kind of say who you are, Curtis, I think the RC world knows, but, maybe all these others watching, don't.
Yeah, I'm Curtis Husting with Associated Electrics. I've been working with Associated since high school. So many years, involved in all different aspects of the company, mostly working with the R&D race design stuff and the vintage stuff too. So it's just a pleasure to be here tonight.
And then we got a lot of people are asking, who in the heck is this Michael guy? Because he's like popping up everywhere and like, who is this dude? Right? So, Michael, let's tell the world who you are, man.
Well, who I technically am. I work with Curtis at AE. I work in marketing and sales. But as Curtis knows, and anyone who works for AE knows, you don't just do one job. You wear a lot of hats. So marketing and sales means a lot of things. And one of the things it means is I prowl around on Facebook and interject myself probably where I don't belong sometimes and comment and banter. So it's if I seem new to the old school scene, it's because Dirk has ingratiated me into the community, and I've got an opportunity to meet a lot of folks at the JCon, at the Clash of Champions race, and just getting to know everybody here and there. So that's who I am. Like bam, all at once. The Blitz introduction. I think it is.
Blitz.
Yes.
The Blitz.
Yeah. Yes, it's good to have you guys on, and I'm excited to have this conversation tonight. And, I wanted to give, this race is building a lot of momentum and, a lot of great things going on. But I'm going to let Michael explain because as you see on the screen, there's some additions going on here. So I'm going to let Michael explain that and what's going on with the sponsors of the event so far.
Yeah. So before we get to the meat and potatoes, which is interviewing Curtis about everyone's favorite subject, RC10 history, I find that profoundly fascinating. And I annoy Curtis every time I come into the office by asking him lots of questions. So before we get into that, I'll do my corporate thing. As Dirk mentioned, anyone who tuned in 2 weeks ago on our first one, our wallpaper looks a lot different. It was blank then. But when you wield the big stick of Associated Electrics, sponsors come in a hurry, especially for a prestigious inaugural race like ours. So I just want to hit on all these folks real quick, do a little housekeeping with some updates to the web, and then jump into why we're all here. So sponsor-wise, everybody in our industry buys things from A-Main, and there's a reason they're awesome. So they were sort of a no-brainer to reach out to for sponsoring our event. Of course, they came in with heavy support like we thought they would, and they're awesome for a reason. It's easy to get stuff. It comes quick. They buy lots of stuff from us. So, it's a win-win across the board. And so one of the things I do at Associated is work on event sponsorship. So when people are holding a race, they hit us up and I kind of decide what kind of support we're going to give. I'm always envious because J Concepts always seems to be on everything. I don't think anyone sponsors more events than J Concepts. And that makes me feel bad because I feel like it's such I feel like we give so much, but they're always there giving more. But yeah, Jason Rona and J Concepts, they're there for everyone. We're actually going to have a really cool update in the next couple days. Everyone's been asking about tires for our Surface. Well, Jason sent an entire spreadsheet that Brad Geck made into something beautiful. We have tires and Team Associated wheel recommendations that we're going to post, and everyone can finally see what sort of J Concepts pairings are going to work on this track. So look for that coming up in the next couple days. PDX Underground. So they're an indoor carpet track in the Portland area, and they're big customers of us. Kevin stepped up in a big way. In fact, before we were even soliciting sponsorships, Kevin just reached out to me and said, "Hey, I want in on this thing." But yeah, they have a great carpet track. Actually, our team was just there not too long ago testing the B84 and optimizing it for carpet. But yeah, they're a really great state-of-the-art track in Portland. Dragon Punch RC. So we all know Dan McDade. He's the man. They make awesome products. They make conversion kits, hop-ups for all sorts of vehicles, and he stepped up in a big way. Dan's one of the gentlemen I got to meet and get close to recently. And in my mind, Dragon Punch and Rubrics, it's an easy crossover because Ruben does really similar things at Rubrics. He makes conversion kits. He does crazy good things with carbon fiber and titanium. And Ruben and I are buddies too. Rubrics came in and sponsored this race in a big way too. And of course, you could not have vintage RC without Kyosho, right? They were a no-brainer. I sent our sponsorship proposal packet to them, and I included our cars and our classes, and they were very happy to see that Associated was being inclusive of all the brands and getting all the popular cars on there. We have a responsibility to do that, and it was nice to get the feedback from them that they're like, "Hey, this is cool. Thank you for doing that." So of course, Kyosho's on there, and then the next three, Team AJ, Model Engines, and RC Mart. If you haven't heard of them, it's because you don't live in Asia. But if you do live in Asia, they're like the A-Main and Horizon and HRP of Asia. They're the big time distributors there. So they sell our products in Asia. We have really tight relationships with them. So they've jumped on board for this thing too. And everybody knows Bob Stormer. You can listen to Bob talk forever because Bob's the man. I think I saw on Facebook, it's actually Bob and his wife's anniversary. So
happy anniversary to my boy Stormer.
Happy anniversary.
Right?
Yeah.
Happy anniversary. And Bob's the man. We do a lot of great business, have a long-term relationship with them. Bob was happy to jump on board for this. So something I think we mentioned in the last episode, Monster Energy proper is jumping on board for the Team Associated Vintage Race.
Wow.
So yeah, we know they're going to bring swag. They're going to bring their brand. They're going to bring it heavy. They're there. We're
hopefully
excited.
Trophy girls.
We'll see. Yeah. I'm sure it's a priority. So I'm sure they'll bring the A team for that one. In Absolute Hobbies, great online retailer. I want to say realtor because I do that sometimes, but great business partners of us. And of course, Yokomo can't have a vintage race without Yokomo and everything they bring. And then also who I was able to get on board today. So Theo Kaptanis, he's coming to our race. Well, he's also bringing the brand, baby. Theo's sponsoring it. I think and hope Lindsay's coming too. But yeah, I'm sure Theo's going to run his RC10 four-wheeler. He's bringing the sponsorship. And then, of course, we have our house brands, Reedy and Factory Team. So hope I didn't bore anyone with any of that. But I get really passionate talking about these folks because these are the people I deal with on a day-to-day basis. I've developed relationships with, and they're bringing the support. So thank you to our sponsors. And next time we do this, so talk about first world problems. It was almost hard to fit all these wonderful sponsors on the wallpaper. Next time we do this, I don't even know how we're going to fit them all. We're going to have to make us all like a postage stamp size or something like that. But
yeah,
it'll be worth it, right?
That's what's fun about the design piece.
Yeah,
Michael, you hit on some good points. I want it to be clear. This race is not about Team Associated. Yes, it's being hosted by Team Associated, but in all honesty, it's being done for the vintage community, and it's being done very, very well. And you named so many great names there. Theo. I call him, the Godfather of California when it comes to RCs. He knows everybody, and he is such a good person that runs a very successful hobby shop. Our friends at Kyosho, glad they stepped in. Can't do a vintage event without Kyosho. And then Dan and Ruben, such good people. And I love seeing their brand develop. And I love seeing them be highlighted, because that's, these smaller locations or these smaller people that are trying to come into the business. You got to start somewhere, right? So I'm glad to see them doing that. And then Bob probably has one of everything from the RC history. Could probably start a museum. He is such an amazing person and so passionate about what he does. So awesome work on all this, by the way, Michael. I know you've been working hard behind the scenes. So
I have, but the brand and our legacy does all the heavy lifting. I'm just a messenger. So, well.
Yeah. So we got a lot of questions coming in, guys. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to leave 10 minutes in the end to kind of go over things. If I see something, that just really sticks out, I don't want to necessarily interrupt the conversation with Curtis. But, this live cast is also about the race. But we also want to talk about some exciting things that Curtis is getting ready to talk about. So I'm going to kick it back to Michael. I just wanted to interject a little bit about the sponsors and how excited we are.
Perfect. Yeah. So we'll just do a little housekeeping, show a couple of new integrations we made to the website related to the race. So sort of race related updates. So just to rehash, if you're looking to access race information outside of the Facebook realm, you just go to our webpage. You just go to associatedelectrics.com, and there's a couple different ways to find the race stuff. So we have this wonderful banner here that our webmaster, Mike Myers, who does a great job, made this. You could just click on this right here, or the secondary way to get to this same destination, click on Vintage Series, self-explanatory, and then this top banner here, this beautiful piece of artwork that makes me excited every time I see it. Whoop, Masami, got to go back. You just click on that guy right there. So this is the landing page if you're looking for information outside of Facebook for people that aren't on there. So we've added a couple pretty important features to this. So first off, everyone knows you get a banquet ticket per driver for the event, and that's where you get to have dinner with Masami, ask Curtis to autograph all your stuff. That event is going to be amazing. Well, now you can click this button here, and if you have friends or family coming with you, you could buy additional banquet tickets for $50 each. There's a maximum of 5. So if your friends or family are coming and you want them to be able to enjoy this experience with you, you can now just kind of a la carte add these to the event, bring everyone along, and then you're good to go. So that was just integrated into our page. And we also posted a hard link for the rules and classes. We'll give Adobe here a second to open up the PDF. So this is the same document that we've been making revisions on in posting, in reposting. But this is where you can find the most up-to-the-date one outside of Facebook. And this one's actually fresh. We haven't posted this on our event page yet. We're going to do it in the next couple of days. So small challenge of being team associated. When we release so many awesome things, the challenge is trying to keep posting to a minimum every day so everything doesn't get buried. Anyways, we've been wanting to post this for a few days, but there's been too many other exciting things happening. This is another place to check out the rules. There's a couple updates in there. We did add a couple important vehicles to this. So speaking of Dan at Dragon Punch RC, we added his RSX. That's a long arm conversion kit for the buggy, and that'll be in the 89 and 93 two-wheel class right there. And then we also added his truck conversion, which is the RSXT, and you'll find that over here in the 91 to 96.
Sounds like I need some updates from Dragon Punch.
Yeah, he's busy just making the good stuff.
Yeah. I'm sure he's the guy to hook you up too.
I bet he is. So one thing about the rules, y'all may see cars that, trust me, this is like an encyclopedia. So I tell you to save this, getting these dates and all this on all these different brands. A lot of work went into this. So if you see something wrong, let us know. But some of the cars are put in classes that make sense, right? even if the year is not exact as what it says under there.
Yeah. So yeah, no one tried to add us and let us know. But you know what? I know we're getting closer because I'm getting fewer comments of people making me feel stupid. So that's all. That means we're heading in the right
That's
direction,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So that's just a little housekeeping and website. And actually, there was a lot of viewer feedback saying we needed to get those things on there. So thank you everyone for telling us. We really do listen. There's a lot going on, so we needed that. Okay, well, enough of the boring stuff. Let's get to why we came here. So we have Curtis. Everyone knows he's one of the original pioneers of the RC10. Everyone's heard his stories of machining the first prototype in the machine shop. And Curtis, by the way, is still fabricating things and making prototypes and still using his hands and still doing the same work, which I think is great. So we've all heard a lot of those stories about the RC10. We're going to touch a little bit on not necessarily deeper cuts, but just asking him some different kinds of questions about original RC10 releases, but then shifting to the majority of our time with Curtis, talking about our RC10 re-releases, which is, that's why a lot of us are here, and it's made a lot of money for us and our retailers and taken a lot of your guys' money, and we apologize for that, but not really also, because it's good stuff. So we'll jump into that. So Curtis, out of all of the original RC10 releases, and I know this might be kind of a broad question, so take it wherever you want. Which of the releases, so whether it's the RC10, the truck, the original RC10 6 gear, or the team car, any of those, which project was the most challenging, and why? Maybe just give us a couple anecdotes on that.
I think we start right from the very beginning with the original RC10. The main factor is we were starting from zero. We didn't know where to start, right? So we had to go to off-road races. We never even gone to off-road races. We saw it was growing, so we needed to go. We needed to see what the designs were that were out there, what they were lacking. Kind of look at real car racing to see what's the newest and greatest thing of racing at that time. And so starting from a blank sheet of paper and working with Roger and my dad, Gene Husting, just coming up with all the bits and pieces from A to Z. The chassis was a big hurdle. Just Roger came up with the idea of making a stamped aluminum chassis. And that came from other projects that we made before. Roger came from aerospace, and they did a lot of things in stamping. So he thought aluminum chassis, the shape of it, the design would be very rigid, but still have some flexibility for handling. And then we had to then see, well, is it possible? So from there, we had to make basically a 1-inch thick aluminum plug and start forming aluminum around it, just like a blacksmith, just taking a hammer and forming around the chassis. So that took a lot of different, tests to make sure we could do it, different shapes and all that. So that was one of them. Shocks, we didn't have any shocks. The only shocks we had at the time was on-road shocks for the RC500. And then the body, we didn't make any off-road body. So it's all these big things, and all those things came from Roger. Roger's just brilliant. Roger and my dad. Roger was in charge of some things. My dad was in charge of other things, and I was in charge of basically making all these things to be able to go test it and run it. So from A to Z, I would say hands down would be the original RC10 as far as the most challenging. From there, of course, the next version was, I'm not going to say simple, but much more simple. Cliff came aboard, and he started helping with some designs. We went with a longer front suspension arm, right? And then we ended up getting the stealth transmission and just all incremental things. But the most challenging, I think, was the original RC10, just from the fact of from A to Z, we had to make everything.
So I have kind of an interesting segue or interesting follow-up. So as iconic as the original RC10 design was, and it went so long with such small changes that means something was amazing. As iconic as it was and seemingly perfect and innovative as it indeed was, what would you have changed from the original iteration or two? Is there a function or design that you would have gone back and done differently from the drawing board?
I don't think we could have. Thinking back now, of course, I can name a few, but at the time, there was nothing really. It was so far ahead of all the other cars. When it was done, we were winning races. I mean, it was just like going like gangbusters. We couldn't sell enough of them. So I don't know that we could have changed anything, but looking back on it, some of the hurdles that we went through was the chassis. The chassis was very difficult to manufacture. A lot of steps had to be handled to get it started, from a flat sheet of aluminum to forming it, to heat treating it, to countersinking it, to deburring it, to anodize. So I think we didn't have a lot of options at the time, but thinking back now, if we would have had more time to rethink the chassis, that would have been probably the biggest thing. But I think we were in a constraint of that period in time that we really didn't have the plastics we have now, the CNC equipment that we have now to make the molds that we have now. So I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't change anything because I got to go through that whole thing with Roger Curtis and my dad and all those that associated to create this car. I think it was a perfect piece of machinery.
Yeah, well, and it's funny, you mentioned the challenges of creating the chassis. 40 years later, it's still as difficult, isn't it?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, you can ask Richard Saxton and a couple other guys in the office who are frequently finishing kits by adding the finished product chassis to them. Sometimes at HQ, it's still one of the most difficult parts to make. It's just funny that over the course of 40 years and then in making tens of thousands of these chassis over the 40 years, it's not any easier, right?
Yeah. Even when we just started again, a couple of years ago, the biggest hurdle was the chassis. So I told them, let's start on the chassis first. We got to start on that, get that going, because that's going to be the longest lead time. And sure enough, it was one of the first things started and probably the last thing that we finished.
Perfect. So
I'll be honest, it's the car, in my opinion. You talk to most RC folks that truly changed RC, right? And and now, it's still changing, vintage racing and the vintage scene. So it was just so far beyond everything else at the time. And, what went into it back in the day, if y'all watch some of the old videos and all that, and, it's pretty amazing. And Curtis getting to see it kind of since he's been a kid, growing up is amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And listening to the stories of people that got the RC10 back in the day, it's incredible.
So I was originally going to ask, what your favorite RC10 release was. But, I think probably the low hanging fruit would be that it was going to be, the original classic. Now, if you were to take, maybe a second favorite.
No, I don't think so.
No, it wasn't.
No.
For me,
well, then what's your favorite RC10 release from the original
actually,
generation?
For me, it was the RC10 GT. It sounds kind of strange, but I came from the gas racing, right? I came from A scale gas on road, and the smell of nitro in the morning just get you going, right? So I think we got the RC10, we got the other ones, we got the RC10T, and when it turned into the RC10 GT, it was just awesome to make all these cars come to life in a truck form with gas powered disc brakes and all that. That was just exciting for me, and as well as the 89 Masami car, working on that, it was kind of neat. I think besides the original RC10, that was an experience in itself. But the gas truck, I think, was just a lot of fun for me.
That is awesome, Curtis. I know, we'll talk about the re-releases here in a minute. And I know you and I talk a lot about the re-releases in the background. But I'm curious to see what you say about them. But somebody asked a question, Curtis, are you going to race at the event?
I am going to race at the event. I'm excited to race the event. I'm starting to work on my car.
All right.
So I'm getting it ready.
Going to be a little different than the last time, right?
It will be a totally different car than last time.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I bet I know what you're going to run. You want to tell us?
Sure. I'm going to run the 89 Stealth car.
I knew it. I knew you'd run the 89 Stealth.
Yeah.
All right.
Running the vintage race opened up my eyes to a lot of things.
Yeah.
And just seeing what the categories and how they all run together. And I never got to run the Stealth car.
Yeah.
I never got to race it. I never got to test it. It was all the better guys, the national champion guys, the good guys. So this is even, as well as all you guys, this is my first time of taking it to the track and going to run it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Yeah. I got to see it back in the day when it was first coming out, but I never got to run one. So I'm excited. I'm trying to figure out, because I think I'm going to build a whole new car for this race too, either the Kinwald. You did such an incredible job on the Kinwald car. The release on it as well. I'm just like blown away by the details. And I think we're seeing, by the popularity of the Halsey car, the Kinwald car, the Stealth car, that this is what the group really wants, I think they want them all, but I think they're super excited,
We had to go kind of chronologically, even the RC10 coming out with it. This time we did a clear edition, right? We didn't want to do the exact same thing right off. So the clear edition was pretty exciting. People always wanted, how do I get the clear parts? How do we get the clear parts? So this was a way to reactivate the RC10, make it a clear version, and create some excitement.
Yeah, so everyone heard it here first. We now know what Curtis is racing. So if you're looking to join Curtis on the driver's stand, because remember, at this race, everyone is going to be together. Everyone's going to be seating and qualifying together. This time, if you join that 89 to 93 two-wheel drive buggy class, you might be standing next to the big guy here. So what other incentive do you need other to join that class, right?
Come on out and play with this. It's a lot of fun. It's funny because I went to Dirk's vintage race earlier in the year, and I'm standing on the driver's stand walking up, and this kid's probably, 13, 14 years old next to me, and he's like freaking out. He goes, "Oh, I can't believe I'm standing right here with you." And he goes, "Come on, let's stand together. We'll race right side by side." And he was so excited. And up there, Matt Francis was up there, Joel Johnson. So he was like having a good old time. So come and race. It'll be fun.
Oh my goodness, man. Seeing everybody on the driver's stand at that race, I literally had a tear in my eye. But, going to get to see Masami again. And, I know everybody's not been introduced, but, Cliff and all those, it's going to be like a dream come true for the vintage folks and the people that have been following RC and building these cars since they've been kids. And not that there was anything wrong with the dirt of our last race. This is going to be some real Vegas dirt, baby.
So we touched on the heritage stuff a little bit and got that wonderful anecdote about what Curtis is driving. That's awesome. Excited to see that. We'll shift gears to what has been keeping Associated busy and your pocketbooks busy for the last couple of years. And that is our hot streak, baby, our vintage re-releases. And anyone who's been into RC for a little bit and following Team Associated for a little over a decade knows this isn't the first time Team Associated really dipped their toe in the water. About 2013, 2014. I'm sure someone's going to at me because I got that a little wrong. The re-releases started. I think there was an RC10 Classic and in the Kinwald car. But for whatever reason, it just didn't just didn't click or didn't take off. Curtis, do you have any insight or any rationale of why it is grown wings now, but then it just didn't quite work?
Yeah, I think that it's a timing thing. It's also a cash flow thing, but a timing thing is probably the biggest thing. Is at the time when we released the RC10 Classic, it was a big hit. We got a lot of sales from it. It was exciting to get those cars back into the community. Guys that never had one in their life, then they always wanted one. This gave them an opportunity to buy it. And we followed that up with an RC10 Worlds car. And that car is the one I liked better of the two, mostly because that's a car you can take and take it out of the box and go race it. And I think the timing that we did this was a good time, but short-lived for Dirk could probably expand on this, but I think the vintage racing wasn't where it is now, of course, but it was just kind of getting momentum. And you had a balance. You had people that had these old original cars, vintage original cars, and the re-release was like people poo-pooed those, right? So, but that gave the opportunity for people to start racing because they got spare parts again. They can run something. They didn't want to run their old cars. They can run the new parts, right? And it kind of lasted a few years, and then I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I don't think it was organized enough as to where it is now. Like, and it kind of got probably Durek and other guys getting into it and starting to organize it and starting to make events. And it took about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years to get that going. And there were vintage races, there was vintage races back east, overseas, and all this, and it started getting momentum. And us having our 40th anniversary with the RC10 and our 60th anniversary for Team Associated, kind of like, let's get back into this and make some more cars. And then the community kind of welcomed it, wanted more, but wanted less, right? We couldn't make everybody happy. So we chose a wanted more path. And so just started making more cars again. And I think the timing now with the age of people who had RC10s in the 80s or in the 90s, now their kids are grown up, right? They're empty nesters and they have a little more money in their pockets. I think we took most of it, but at the time they had more money in their pockets, and they wanted to either have a car that they had before, stick it on their shelf, or go run it. So timing right now, I think, is good. People like Dirk and Mike Kirby and those guys who had built up the vintage platform, it's big enough now that we can throw fuel on the fire with these cars, Kyosho releasing cars to me and others, Schumacher. So it's just a timing thing. I think when we released the car 10 years ago, 12 years ago, it was a good time, right? To kind of spark or ignite the vintage class and let it burn. And so right now we're in the blaze of vintage. So it's exciting.
You're right, Curtis. I think, when it's all said and done, it's about momentum, right? I think we have the biggest momentum we've ever had in the vintage community. And we got to thank Eric Reichert. He's kind of the one that kind of started all this. He's getting ready to have his 18th year of the Vintage Off-Road Nationals in September. And he kind of sparked it. And, we started Old School about 10 years ago. And we started building momentum, with a worldwide group. And I think it's all about the momentum being sustained, right? We took a little lull where there wasn't really parts and it was costing a ton of money to race these cars. I'm gonna be honest. People started reproducing parts, Spark started getting back, and it's also all about visibility, right? We holding the event that we just held, the J Concepts Clash Champions Old School RC Reunion. That event was posted worldwide, right? So they say that event had more views and hits than the last Worlds 10 scale
Wow,
Worlds.
that's exciting.
So, which is huge. And, at the race, there were comments like, this type of racing could save RC, because I think people are looking for a more relaxed atmosphere, community environment. And, I think we've found a way to create that. And, bringing all the legends together again, and keeping that momentum going. There's a lot of fire spark, right? Curtis, you hadn't raced in years, right? And
Yeah.
seeing you back on the track and you tinkering with cars, and man, it's amazing to be a part of what's going on right now. And I'm so excited that y'all are doing this event and what it brings. And not only that, the cars that are being released, amazing work. There's some stuff that people say is silly, right? But you gotta do things that you feel right for the company. And companies aren't here to sit back and lose money. They're here to try to make money, and sometimes you gotta try things by trial and fire. I think I've got all of them, but maybe two of the kits. And there's a lot of people. I know, right? you would think I would know somebody to help me get those. I'm missing. But yeah, momentum is strong, and I think the timing is right. And here's the deal: we can either carry it forward, or we can let it die off, right? Because it's really about that. As long as there's momentum, and this stuff is on the air and being posted, and people keep coming out with cool kits, I think it will continue for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dirk, I thought that was really insightful. If you don't carry on, things can just flame out. And there are, and rightfully so, there are sometimes some criticisms about the pace of the release schedule. Trust me, It's just as hard on us. But when the interest is there and the appetite's there, satiate it. Why not? You don't have to buy everyone. You can pick and choose your favorite one. But better to give everyone what they want and let them decide what they want than keep people wanting more, right?
Yep. Yeah, your buyers are going to tell you what works and what doesn't work, right? So and you guys got the stats. You understand what your people are ordering and what they're not ordering, and the vintage community knows what's still sitting on the shelves in the hobby shops and what's not. And it's a gauge. And when you come out with a new kit, if the hobby shop still has a bunch of them sitting there, they may not order as many this time, right? Or then again, they may. So I love it. I'm so excited. There's always going to be haters about different things, but I can tell you overall, the vintage community is very, very happy. Very happy with what's going on.
Yeah, looking at the last few releases with the Halsey car, the Kinwall car, and the excitement about the Masami car, we tried to put a lot of detail in it that these guys had. Of course, there's so much detail, we can't do it all, but we do the big picture stuff, And overall, I think they came out really good, and we're excited about them, and the community is too. So when they want all those little things, well, that kind of gives them their craftsmanship. Let them find the little blue washers or the little original tires or things like that. So everything's not perfect, and if it was perfect, I'd still be working on them. So we got to keep moving forward.
Curtis, you want to kind of talk about, we got probably about 8 more minutes to talk, but you want to talk about the inception of how a re-release happens?
It's kind of been going in chronological order, as you guys can kind of tell.
Yeah.
So some are a little bit off, a little bit, but that's what we're doing. We're just kind of following those footsteps, and in doing so, we're having. There you go. You almost got a list in back of you on that poster,
right?
Yeah. So it's hard to not think of, what's next, because we kind of know the end story, right? With the B7 and the B84. So we're just kind of working our way up, and it's fun. Looking back at these cars, we had no CAD for these things. We had no digital drawings or anything. So everything had to be even the drawings we had weren't all completely accurate. So reaching out to people like you, Mike Kirby, and Cedric, and other guys all over the world for getting complete cars, and you and others have been so gracious to send me a kit, like an original kit.
Right.
It's hard to pull them out from these guys, but it really helped us to use that information of what we actually had in the box at that time, because 6 months later we made an update and it was something else. 6 months later it was an update and it was something else. So getting a time period correct car, working with the different people, it's been exciting part of it. But we're just kind of going along chronological order, and we're listening all these people talking on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever. We're hearing what you're saying, what you want next, what you don't want, what you like, what you don't like, and we're here to stay in business and also give you what you want.
Yeah. I got two of my favorites sitting behind me, which is the Clifflet truck and the oh my goodness, where's my brain at? And the Kenwall car. Amazing job. Even in my time, I've built, I don't know, it's got to be in the 300 to 400 vintage cars over the last 10 years. And, I've never done, I've built several Kenwall cars, but I've never done, a let truck. And it's exciting to be able to have them come in where everything's so close, right? So, I think, right here says it, man. From Chris Von Air, the pretty boy of RC, by the way. Curtis Husting, thank you for all of your efforts. And I know we've spent endless time on the phone in the past when it comes to these, and I'm always happy to help and support, and because your and I talks are we want to get it as close as possible, right? But it can't always be perfect, and the cars were never perfect back in the day either. So you always had to tinker. One of my funnest things to watch is people complaining about certain things and asking that, but it's fine. They're learning. Some of these people have never built one, and back in the day, you couldn't build one without having a Dremel, right? You had to have that Dremel, and you had to do little tricks, and you had to do trades, and there wasn't social media back in the day, so you had to learn that stuff at the track, right? You had to learn what others were doing with your buddies, and calling Team Associated on the phone. How many phone calls y'all get now? You still get a lot of phone calls?
We don't pick up.
Right.
But working with this vintage stuff and meeting people like Chris Van Aert, I was fortunate enough to pit straight across from him at the last vintage race and get to know him and his wife. And it was just a great experience, and to be able to race alongside these guys, it was fun. But also, it's just a good time just working with the vintage people in the group. It's really great.
You can say it. You can say we're a pain, and you can call us Pitas if you want to.
Well, they're always fishing, like, so what's next, or when is this going to be out? And some people, I reach out to, hey, do you have one of these kits? And they're like, oh, I know what they're making next.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's always hard. It's the questions I get, and I just say, I don't know, guys.
Yeah.
So, Mike, if you want to go. So we got about 13 minutes left. You want to go to some questions, or is there other things you want to talk about with the re-releases? Or I think he covered it pretty well, actually.
Yeah. Well, I guess my one kind of lingering question or hot take question, Curtis, of all of our vintage re-releases that you've worked on, this recent batch, which one has been your most favorite project?
I think the stealth car, just kind of bringing it alive and I get to run it now, so I'm excited about that. And you mentioned, back then you'd take your car and Dremel on it and you have to tinker with it and all that. I got one right out of the box and I got the Dremel out and I tinker in it with it now because
Yeah.
it's basically the way it was, in 1989,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So with all the technology that's changed and everything, this car is actually the closest to what we're running now, right? The long arms,
Yeah.
still the same transmission basically. So I'm putting on 12 millimeter shocks on it, and, just dumb stuff like that. So, yeah. So I think that the Stealth car, 89 car, is one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I think people already had an idea of it, but Masami was pretty instrumental and involved in recreating that car, right? Did you have lots of conversations with Masami and lots of input?
Yeah, for this car, re-releasing it, yes, he got. I sent him. I keep sending him updates, kind of what we're working on every month, and showing him where we are, and he give us some input, like make sure it's got this, make sure it's got that, and he helped us get approvals from like the KO and
Yeah.
other
KO
Yokomo
Pro.
to
Yeah.
try and we wanted to have the decals correct on the body, so trying to get all the right decals correct and getting permission from these things and the blessing from them. It was really nice that they did do that for us, so that's pretty exciting. And Masami was instrumental on doing that.
Yes. Seeing him and his dad light up when they saw the kit and talking about it on the short video y'all did just brings back so many memories.
Yeah.
Because we could have a whole conversation about the Stealth car for sure, couldn't we? Yeah, you nailed it. Hopefully mine's here soon. I'm actually probably going to do a build video on that one. Just, because there's been so many variations of kits that people have done, right? Curtis, and I know you gave your blessing, the AEs gave their blessing. And, there's even been people come to look at the car, the OG car, and create these kits. But now y'all have done one, and man, it's exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Well, we can hit that question from Mike Woods right on the screen. Will there be a split tire list, or will you have to run the vintage spike and rib tires? Nope. Open wheels, open tires, open axles. Like every race, everyone's going to end up settling on the same, probably two, and then ultimately, kind of one style of tire as it boils down. But with this being, a vintage inspired, watered down dirt track, the track surface is also going to evolve. So it's going to be real old school racing where you might end up starting with a certain tire and finishing with something else to adapt to the surface, right?
Yeah, and we're gonna have a whole live cast to talk with Jason and Richard and really talk about tires. But as of right now, J Concepts is coming out with a new pin down. They also have the pin down for the smaller tires. You're probably going to want to run rips up front, right? Some type of groove tire up front. So all that data is coming. But I can tell you, it's going to be raked, sprayed dirt like we used to run back in the 80s. Now, my understanding, the Vegas dirt is a little more tacky, from my understanding. It's going to be like the real deal. But yes, Bob, open wheels and tires for sure. Any updates on the release of iconic shirts from AE?
Well, this couldn't have been a more perfect segue to the race, but we are currently working on 3 separate shirts, iconic designs out of nice, t-shirt, great t-shirt material. By the way. Like you're not wearing a burlap sack like back in the day. We're working on 3 iconic designs right now. Actually, they're kind of going through the approval chain. But yeah, the idea for the race, you're going to end up probably seeing 5 different shirts at the race. So every entry, so not every racer, every entry is going to get an event shirt. And it's a special shirt that we are making for the race. It's kind of a combination of nostalgic graphics blended with modern. Every entry is going to get one of those. There's going to be a shirt for staff. So the three of us will be wearing one of those special staff shirts, so we stick out and everyone can bug us with questions or lean on Curtis for setups or an autograph. And you're going to see Dirk bumbling around the pits and doing interviews with the stick. And so there's going to be a staff shirt and then 3 retail shirts that you can purchase. And to be honest, we haven't decided whether they're going to be for sale outside of the event. I'm sure some of that'll have to do with quantities, but 3 for the event. And if they're successful, why not print more and sell them, right?
So this is also a perfect opportunity for anybody to come to this race and bring stuff. If you have a car, you want Cliff's autograph on it. You want Masami's autograph on it. You want Jay Halsey's autograph, Mark Pavitas' autograph on bodies, chassis, posters, whatever. This is the time to come down and hang out and race with these guys and bring stuff to autograph. If you're into collecting and creating value for your prized possession, get an autograph on it. Come on down.
Yeah, for sure. Any chance Gil Losi Jr. will show up at the race? I know he wanted to be at the last one. I think there's a good chance. I don't think we have confirmation just yet. But we are going to be doing a video series with several of the legends as well. There's a whole list going on with that. We'll keep you posted more on that. Let me see here. Stealth car, such unicorn. Vegas great classes. This keeps coming up, and I know Nick and I've kind of talked around the background with this. Looking forward to the Vegas great classes. Maybe the new JJ in the 88 class is a little unfair, but the rest are spot on. Motor limits are perfect too. Yeah, Nick. So the JJ car, we made a decision as a group at the vintage community. That car was, very equal at the 87 Worlds. Not a ton of changes. A lot of people think the tranny and stuff is different. Yes, it is. It has a slipper on the outside, but all that stuff was available back in 87. And that's what, Joel was running on his car. I've been watching them at races. I've seen the JJ car be competitive. I think it actually won the Heritage class at the Vintage Clash. But that was because of last minute bobble of an associated car. I think they're all, it fits within the strengths, and you also got to take care, of your other brands as well. So I don't think it has an advantage at all. I've got one, I run it. I honestly almost like the way the 6 gear feels a little better. But I'll probably, depending on how many classes I run, but I think all the classes are laid out very well. Thank you for your feedback though, for real. See here, trying to look for more questions. Just a comment from Jake. Jake was a big part of the race. He runs Nostalgic RC. He does a lot of stuff for the DS and a lot of parts as well. So he wants you to send him a sponsorship sheet, by the way, if you don't mind. There you go. Jason Ashton. Curtis, what classes are you most excited to watch? And can you get you to walk around with the big old video camera like your dad did? That's a great one.
That is a great one. I'm not going to walk around with a camera. My dad loved photography and videography and give so much of this to help get it to where it is now. And that's, as cheesy as those look when you watch them, it really is pretty good documentation. As far as the class I'm most excited to watch, it's all the fast guys. It's just not necessarily the fast guys at their time coming and running. I was never at their level, so I always loved watching them all compete together and racing. So whatever they're all running in, that's the one I like watching also the obscure kind of vintage cars of like, what the heck is that thing? And you see them bouncing around there and you see a wheel flying off because you got to really take it easy over the jumps. So everything is kind of fun to watch and to see who runs what.
So Mike Woods has a good question. I think you missed it earlier, Mike. There's going to be some examples of tires and everything posted. It's not going to be a spec tire. It's going to be open tires, open wheels. To me, that makes it more exciting. You got to play a little game. But what I would tell you, as I tell most, is get your tire on there that feels good and learn how to drive with that tire. Just like the old days, you're gonna have some changes and things you have to get used to, whether the track's still a little damp versus it being dusty. But that's what makes it fun. I'm really excited, Curtis, to see, the people like the Von Airs get a chance to race against, the big names from back in the day. I'm curious to see what happens. But I am taking bounties. Like if y'all want me to be your bounty car and take Von Air out, I will be taking the highest bidder's money, and I will make sure that he gets a big old boot.
Well, I saw all the trophies he won last time.
Wow.
And you're going to be busy trying to take him down. So
I'll get him. Trust me.
You got to catch him first. He's pretty amazing.
That is very true. Catch him or wait on him.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's going to be very, very exciting. Let me see. Are you seeing any more questions, Michael, that I may have missed? See if we got some up top. One thing we will commit to, guys, because we're like in our last minute. We're trying to be very, we're trying to stick to our timelines and not go an hour to 2 hours. But one thing you can get our commitment of, Michael and I will go through, we'll monitor these videos and the questions and go through and get these questions answered for you guys. And if we don't have the answers, Michael will guess.
You got to fake it till you make it. I've been doing it for 40 years, and look, I ended up at Associated. So
right.
live your best life, guys.
I would like to thank you both for coming on and, sharing, Curtis, your memories. Is always good to sit and hear what you had to say. But thank you guys, for everything you do for the vintage community and, Team Associated. As I said earlier, there's going to be a video week. We're trying to stick to Wednesdays, depending on timing. There's a whole calendar written out. Expect to see something weekly. Michael, are you going to use this format for the ones in AE as well, or is it going to depend on if y'all are all together? Or...
Yeah, it'll likely be this same format, same technology. I mean, this is beautiful. Dirk does such an amazing job doing this. This whole production, he's got it dialed and figured out the best software and works out all the kinks. So that behind the scenes stuff is not easy to learn, and Dirk's got it all figured out. So
well, I'm gonna be honest, Michael. You learned it a heck of a lot quicker than I did. I can't believe some of the stuff you're already doing. So kudos to you.
I got a plan on you maybe being late, so I got to prepare for myself ahead of time.
Yeah. Show must go on. Any last comments y'all want to make, Curtis?
I would say all you guys thinking about coming to the race, you're worried about tires, you're worried about the dirt, you're worried about all this stuff. Just come out and have a good time. You got to kind of make an educated guess on the tires. We're going to give you a list of kind of what should work. I don't know either. I'm not going to bring a whole bunch of different tires. I don't have a bunch of different tires. I'm just going to come and have a good time. And that's good. It's more the spirit of the vintage event, having a good time, meeting people, talking to people, getting to know people that you may not have ever met before and wanted to. And just come. It's a good all around good time.
Yeah. Michael?
No, I mean, just thank you everyone for coming. This episode went as amazing as I thought it would, and it's just great seeing all the familiar faces. They're old school RC faces, and Dirk, this is part of what you bring in your value prop. And yeah, thank you for bringing all these folks and this great community. It's great. These are all the same people signed up for the race too. So it's really cool. It's like we're like a traveling circus, right? Like in the most in the most beautiful kind of way. So thank you for everything. One last viewer question from Benjamin: who's got the media coverage? Mod Media is going to be doing it, and we'll try to get Matthew up here for a little blurb. But you got to use the best. But yeah, no, thank you everyone. That's all for me, and And we're going to be trying to bring this every week, just like Dirk said.
Yeah. All right. My last things are, don't miss it. You're going to regret it if you do, just like you did the Vintage Clash. So, not to put pressure on people, but, we I say it often, you're never promised tomorrow. And this is going to be a lifetime event that you're not going to miss. And, I don't want anybody to have to take out second mortgages or anything to come, but try to figure it out. Love to see you all there. And, I can't wait. I'm like so excited. And
it's Vegas. You can't go wrong.
I mean, Vegas, right?
You can make all your money back.
Yes. You could win. You could double your money. You could lose. Yes, you're right.
You could win. Yeah.
Yes, you're going to win. And we had fun. Like we had fun in the casino, right? When we were in Indiana too. But Vegas is a whole nother deal, taking it to a whole nother level. And I will end with this. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, baby. Y'all have a great day.